Imagine this. You've just fought a brutal battle. You've actually won, decisively. But then, the leader who brought you all this way, Cyrus, he's suddenly dead.
Right. And you're not just anywhere. You're deep inside hostile Persia, hundreds, maybe thousands of miles from home.
Exactly. Surrounded by this massive empire completely dwarfing your forces, you've got no maps, no clear plan, and really absolutely no idea what to do next.
That's precisely the situation these Greek mercenaries, the Hellenes, found themselves in. Stranded, leaderless.
Yeah.
Just shock after Cyrus the Younger's death at the Battle of Cunaxa.
It's an incredible moment of drama, pure uncertainty. They'd won the fight.
Yeah, they won the battle itself, but the reason for the battle, their whole strategic goal, gone. Poof. Cyrus was dead.
So this isn't just some dry military history.
Not at all. It's a masterclass in crisis management. It digs into ancient diplomacy, the sheer psychology of survival. What do people do under that kind of pressure?
Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're plunging right into Anabasis Book 2. It's this amazing ancient account written by Xenophon, one of the soldiers who actually lived through it all.
Which makes it incredibly valuable.
Our mission here is to pull out the critical knowledge, the surprising insights from this incredible journey. We want you to really understand how this formidable army, strong, but also incredibly vulnerable, navigated, well, everything. Treachery, starvation, a whole empire against them.
And it really is a first-hand look. Leadership lessons, resilience, stuff that honestly still resonates today.
You said it's valuable because it's firsthand.
Yeah, exactly. It's not some historian looking back centuries later. It's raw, it's immediate. You feel the tension, the strategic dilemmas, the constant psychological strain on these guys. It brings it to life.
Okay, so set the scene right after the battle. The sun comes up.
Right. And the Greek generals, these experienced commanders, they're confused. Cyrus hasn't appeared. No messages. Nothing.
So they start thinking, okay, maybe we need to move, link up with him.
Exactly. They're preparing to do just that. When Procles, descended from the Spartan king Demoratus, and Glus, the son of Thamos, arrive.
And they bring the news.
Yeah. The terrible news. Cyrus is dead. It's just a complete shock. A real gut punch, like you said.
And it gets worse, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah. The hits keep coming. Arius, who commanded Cyrus's non-Greek forces, his main ally, he's already pulled back, retreated.
And he sends a message.
He does, basically. I'll wait one day. Join me now, or I'm heading back to Ionia without you. He's abandoning them.
Wow. So the Greeks are just reeling, utter distress, uncertainty.
Completely. You can imagine the panic spreading.
But then Clearchus, one of the key generals, he steps up.
Instantly. No hesitation. He's decisive, bold. He sends a message straight back to Arius.
Which is pretty audacious, right?
Incredibly audacious. He essentially says, look, we won. We beat the king's army. There's no one left to challenge us. Come back, join us, and we'll put you on the Persian throne.
Offering him the throne. What does that tell us about Clearchus, even in this chaos?
It tells you everything. He's thinking strategically. Even now, he sees the power vacuum. Clearchus was, what, 50? A real soldier, loved fighting, preferred war to peace.
Not exactly a warm and fuzzy leader, though.
No, definitely not. Known for being harsh, scowling. But in a crisis, that sternness, that absolute refusal to buckle, it gave his men confidence. He knew how to rally terrified troops. Offering Arius the throne was a gamble, sure, but it was about seizing the initiative, creating some leverage.
That's fascinating. Leadership under extreme pressure. But, okay, while the generals are dealing with Arius, what about the average soldier? What are they doing?
Good question. They're being practical. Immediately. Instinctively. They start provisioning.
Meaning?
Scavenging. Cutting up the baggage animals, oxen, asses, anything they can find on the battlefield for meat. And they're incredibly resourceful with fuel, too.
Like using arrows.
Exactly. Abandoned arrows, wicker shields, wooden shields, anything flammable they could find to cook the meat. It shows that immediate focus on just surviving the next day. Pretty resilient bunch.
Okay, so the initial shock starts to wear off a bit, but then, uh-oh, here comes another problem.
Right on cue. Heralds arrive from the Persian king Artaxerxes. And significantly, one of them is a Greek, a Hellene named Philinus.
Philinus.
Yeah.
Okay, what's the king's message? An ultimatum?
Pretty much. The king, thinking he's won now that Cyrus is gone, basically demands they lay down their arms and surrender, come to his gates, and await his judgment.
And the Hellenes, after all that.
Their reaction is immediate, total defiance. Clearchus, true to form, gives that classic line, conquerors do not, as a rule, give up their arms.
Yeah.
Just blunt. Perfect Clearchus.
Such a powerful statement. Were the others on the same page, or did they have different ideas?
Mostly unified. Cleaner, another general, is even more direct. He says they would sooner die. Just flat-out refusal.
Okay.
Proxenus is a bit more nuanced. He asks Philinus, does the king demand our arms as a master taking spoils, or as a friend asking for gifts? Trying to gauge the situation, see if there's any room to negotiate. Still a no to surrender, though.
And then there's that really famous line from Theopompus, or maybe Xenophon, writing as him.
Oh yeah, that's the real mic drop moment. He says something like, look, friend Philinus, right now we figure we have nothing left but our arms and our valor. We prefer to keep them, and with their help we will fight you for your good things.
Wow. That's not just defiance, that's throwing down the gauntlet.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's saying, we know we're cornered, but we will fight for everything. It perfectly captures their desperate resolve.
But Philinus, the Greek herald, he's not impressed.
Not at all. He apparently scoffs, calls the speaker a philosopher, and basically says, yeah, nice words, but your valor isn't going to stop the king's entire army. He tries to argue it's futile.
And apparently some Greeks actually wavered. Briefly.
Yeah, the text mentions a few Hellenes weakly suggested maybe they should try to make nice with the king, hoping he'd employ them elsewhere. Shows that even in that united front, there were cracks, moments of despair. Understandable, really.
So Clearchus then talks to Philinus again. What's his play here?
It's brilliant, actually. Classic Clearchus maneuvering. He tries to kind of manipulate Philinus, appeals to his Greek identity, says, think of the reputation you'll have back home if you give us good advice. He's trying to get Philinus to implicitly advise against surrender.
Does it work?
Not really. Philinus gives a very slippery diplomatic answer. Something like, look, if you have even a tiny chance of survival against the king, fight. If not, surrender. That's my advice. Very noncommittal.
So Clearchus responds,
how? With masterful ambiguity.
Mm-hmm.
He tells Philinus, regarding the truce the king seems to be offering, report back that we hold precisely the same views on this point as the king.
Which means?
Which means whatever the king thinks. If the king thinks staying put means truce, fine. If the king thinks moving means war, fine too. It tells Philinus absolutely nothing concrete about their plans. Pure psychological game, keeping the Persians guessing.
Amazing. A really sharp mind. So Faunus leaves, probably scratching his head. What about Ariaeus? Does he take the throne offer?
Nope. His messengers come back pretty quickly. Firm no. He's not interested in being king. Too risky. He says he's leaving for Ionia tomorrow, and the Hellenes absolutely must join him that night.
So that forces their hand. They have a deadline now.
Exactly. The window is closing. And it's interesting. Xenophon notes that Menon, another general who was apparently a close friend, an intimate of Ariaeus, stays behind with Arius's group. Keep that detail in mind about Menon.
Okay, Menon stays with Arius. Clearchus calls a meeting. What's the strategy now?
He lays it out, looks at the sacrifices, the omens, which were a huge deal for them.
Right.
The omens were bad for attacking the king. Plus, the Tigris River was in the way. No boats. Bad idea. Staying put. Also bad. No food. They'd starve. But the sacrifices were good for joining Arius.
So the omens conveniently lined up with the only practical option?
Pretty much. It shows how they integrated belief with, pragmatic reality. Joining Arius was really their only viable path.
So night march it is. A big risk, moving an army in the dark like that.
Huge risk. But the text specifically says, Clearchus alone had the sense and wisdom requisite. He gives the orders, and they move out under cover of darkness, eventually linking up with Arius.
And this is where we get that contrast in loyalty you mentioned.
Exactly. First, betrayal. The Thracian commander, Miltiades, deserts to the king, taking about 300 infantry and 40 cavalry with him, shows how fragile some alliances were.
But then
The complete opposite. The Hellenes and Arius's contingent perform this incredibly solemn oath ceremony. They sacrifice a bull, a wolf, a boar, and a ram over a shield.
Whoa, wolf.
Yeah, pretty intense mix. And they dip their swords and spear points into the pooled blood. It's visceral. It's meant to seal their alliance absolutely under the eyes of the gods. A really powerful image of commitment.
So oath sealed in blood. What next? Arius has some advice, right?
Crucial advice. He says, don't go back the way we came. Why? Because it's stripped bare. It's a famine road now. No provisions left.
Makes sense. So a different path.
Yes, a longer roundabout route. The idea is to put as much distance between them and the king's pursuing army as quickly as possible, especially in the first few days. Escape is the priority.
Smart. And speaking of smart moves, there's that amazing story about the night panic.
Oh, it's brilliant. The Hellenes are marching or maybe camped, and suddenly mass panic erupts in the dark. Shouting, confusion, clamor, No one knows why. Maybe they thought the enemy was upon them.
So Clearchus.
Clearchus stays cool. He sends his herald out to announce loudly, "A reward! A talent of silver for anyone who can tell us who let the ass into the camp."
An ass? Seriously? What did that do? And how much was a talent of silver anyway?
It was a huge amount of money, like a fortune, enough to signal this wasn't panic from the leaders. And the sheer absurdity of blaming an ass. It just broke the tension. People realized their fear was baseless. The generals were calm and in control, thinking clearly enough to offer this massive, slightly ridiculous reward. It instantly calmed everyone down. Pure psychological genius.
Incredible. Just shows his understanding of his men.
And it also shows something else. The king's attitude is shifting. Yesterday, demands for surrender. Now, suddenly, he's sending heralds to talk about a truce. The Hellenes' defiance, their sheer presence, is clearly making him nervous.
So Clearchus sees this shift and decides to press the advantage when the truce heralds arrive.
Absolutely. He plays it perfectly. He makes them wait, ostentatiously arranges his troops, the best ones, where the heralds can see them, projecting strength, confidence.
And then the breakfast demand?
Yeah. Classic Clearchus. Before he'll even discuss a truce, he says basically, "We need breakfast first." It wasn't just about being hungry. It was a power play. We're not desperate. We'll talk on our schedule. It sends a clear message. We're dictating terms here.
Okay, so the truce is eventually agreed upon. Does that make the journey easier, or is there still suspicion?
Easier? No. Different, maybe. They get Persian guides to lead them to villages with provisions, but Clearchus is clearly still wary. He personally oversees building makeshift bridges over these canals and trenches near the Tigris. He notices they seem unusually full of water, suspects the Persians flooded them deliberately to slow the Greeks down or funnel them into a trap.
So he's very hands-on.
Very. Xenophon describes him with his spear in one hand and a measuring stick in the other, directing the work, even physically pushing soldiers who are slacking, getting his own hands dirty, showing leadership by example, but also his constant vigilance. He doesn't trust this truce at all.
And the provisions they find when they reach these villages, anything interesting?
Yeah, some cool details. They find plenty of corn, obviously essential, but also date wine, which they describe, and a kind of vinegar made from boiled dates.
Date wine.
And the dates themselves, Xenophon mentions the ones reserved for the masters were marvelous for their beauty and size, looking like great golden lumps of amber. A nice little detail.
And the palm.
Right. They try the heart of the palm, the brain, as they call it. They say it's beautiful to look at, delicious to eat. But, like the dried dates, it gives you a splitting headache afterwards. And harvesting it kills the palm tree. Just these little observations that make the account so vivid.
So they restock, camp for 3 days, and then Tissaphernes arrives. Who is he exactly?
Tissaphernes is a big deal. He's the Persian satrap, basically the governor of Lydia and Caria, the provinces closest to the Greek cities in Asia Minor. He presents himself as their potential savior.
How?
He claims he's the one who persuaded the king not to annihilate them, that he argued for letting them go home safely. He positions himself as their benefactor, their guide out of Persia.
This is where the real deception starts, isn't it?
This is the absolute crux of it. The dance of deception begins now. Clearchus, ever the pragmatist looking for an angle, actually makes a strong case for trusting Tissaphernes.
Really?
He gives this speech to Tissaphernes. He emphasizes the oaths they've sworn to the gods, a huge deal for both cultures. He points out how useful the Hellenes could be to Tissaphernes personally.
Useful how?
By helping him suppress troublesome local tribes like the Mysians and Pisidians, groups the Persian Empire always struggled with. He's saying, we're valuable military assets to you. He also directly asks Tissaphernes who's been spreading lies about us, trying to suss out the source of the tension.
Okay, so Clearchus makes his case. How does Tissaphernes respond?
Just as persuasively. He basically asks, why would I betray you? Look at the king's resources, vast lands, rivers, manpower. We could easily crush you or just starve you out if we wanted to.
So he's saying he doesn't need to use treachery.
Exactly. He claims only weak, desperate people resort to perjury and breaking oaths. He says he wants to earn their trust, prove his faithfulness. He even makes some symbolic gesture about his loyalty, mentioning his tiara upright upon his heart, a sign of sincerity and respect for the king, implying he wouldn't dishonor that.
It sounds convincing. Clearchus buys it.
He does. Clearchus seems convinced. He sees a path forward through this alliance with Tissaphernes.
But the soldiers...
Rank and file. Deeply suspicious. They don't trust Tissaphernes one bit. They think the king is just playing for time, waiting for the right moment to wipe them out.
That's a huge gap in perception between the leadership and the troops.
It's critical. Clearchus, the strategist, sees potential benefit. The soldiers, running on gut instinct and recent experience, smell a trap. And that difference in perspective leads directly to the disaster.
Because Clearchus makes a fatal mistake based on this trust.
He does. He insists that the top generals and the company captains must go meet with Tissaphernes personally to solidify the agreement and identify the supposed slanderers.
And he thinks he knows who the slanderer is.
He suspects Menon. Remember Menon? Stayed back with Arius. Described as utterly self-serving, driven by greed, believing lying and cheating were virtues. Clearchus thinks Menon is causing trouble and wants this meeting to isolate him and remove these refractory people.
It's ironic, isn't it? He's trying to root out treachery, but walking right into it.
Terribly ironic.
Yeah.
And the soldiers warn him. They protest. They say, don't send all the generals. Don't put all our leadership in one place with him. They instinctively distrust Tissaphernes.
But Clearchus doesn't listen.
He dismisses their fears. He's convinced he's right, that this meeting is necessary. So the 5 main generals go. Clearchus himself, Proxenus.
The honorable, but perhaps too trusting one.
Right. Then Manon, the suspected slanderer, and Aegeus and Socrates described simply as brave and good friends. Along with them go about 20 captains and maybe 200 soldiers, supposedly just going to a nearby market.
Even the march after this truce agreement sounds tense.
Oh, completely. The Hellenes and Persians march separately but near each other. They camp apart. They watch each other constantly. There are even small skirmishes over foraging for supplies. The distrust is thick in the air. They pass the huge wall of Media, cross the Tigris River on a bridge of boats.
And then one last warning.
Yes, a final chilling warning. An unknown man approaches some of the Greeks, maybe Proxenus and Xenophon, near the Tigris. He warns them. There's a plan for a night attack. Tissaphernes plans to destroy the bridge after you cross, trapping you.
But someone points out a flaw in that warning.
Yeah, a younger Hellene Xenophon implies it might have been him, points out the inconsistency. Wait, if they plan to attack us, why destroy the bridge? If we win, they'd be trapped without an escape route.
Good point. So what was the real reason for the warning?
They figure it out. The Persians didn't want the Hellenes lingering on the island, the fertile land between the Tigris and a major canal. They were afraid the Greeks might settle there, provision themselves easily, and become a permanent thorn in their side. The warning was manipulation, trying to hurry them across the river and away from that strategic area.
Another layer of deception, but it's too late to stop the meeting.
Tragically, yes. Despite all the warnings, the suspicion, the near misses, the meeting goes ahead. The 5 generals, Clearchus, Proxenus, Menon, Aegeus, Socrates, are invited inside Tissaphernes' command tent. The captains and the 200 soldiers wait outside.
And then?
The trap springs.
Brutally. A signal is given, maybe a purple flag. The generals inside are seized, the captains and soldiers waiting outside, ambushed and cut down mercilessly. Persian cavalry then fans out across the plain, killing any stray Hellene they find. Utter betrayal.
How does the news get back to the main Greek camp?
In the most horrific way. A soldier named Nicarchus, an Arcadian, manages to escape, though terribly wounded. He comes staggering back into the Greek camp, clutching his own intestines, gasping out the news of the massacre. Pure terror and chaos erupts.
Just horrifying. And then Arius shows up again, the former ally.
Yeah, Arius, now clearly fully aligned with the Persians, rides up with about 300 cavalry. He announces Clearchus was found to be a traitor and perjurer, and he's dead. But Proxenus and Menon, he claims, are being honored by the king for revealing Clearchus's plot. Blatant lies, and they demand.
It's the same old thing. Surrender your arm.
How do the remaining Greeks react now?
With fury. Cleaner, the Archemenian general, furiously denounces Arius, reminds him of the oaths, the shared blood sacrifice, calls him impious and treacherous. Xenophon steps up too, challenging Arius. If Proxenus and Menon are our benefactors, as you claim, send them back to us.
A reasonable request.
Of course. But Arius and the Persians just stand there silently for a while, confer among themselves, and then ride off without another word. The deception is absolute. Their fate is sealed.
And the generals, the ones seized in the tent.
Taken to the king in Babylon and promptly decapitated. A brutal end.
Let's just reflect on these leaders for a moment, based on Xenophon's descriptions. Clearchus, 50 years old. The thorough soldier.
Yeah, Xenophon paints him vividly. Loved war, harsh, demanding, scowling face, grating voice. Believed an army needed strict discipline, that a soldier must fear his commander more than the enemy.
Effective, though.
Incredibly effective in crisis. Knew how to get supplies, maintain order through severity. His very sternness inspired confidence when things were dangerous. But Xenophon notes his lack of charm or grace meant soldiers often left him once a danger passed. Different leaders for different times, perhaps.
And Proxenus, only 30. A different character entirely.
Completely, from Boeotia. Wanted glory and command, but righteously and honorably. He couldn't inspire fear or demand instant obedience like Clearchus. Xenophon says he was actually more apprehensive of incurring his soldiers' hatred than his soldiers were of disobeying him. Good with gentlemen, maybe, but struggled with the rougher elements, vulnerable perhaps to manipulation because of his desire to be liked and respected.
Then Menon, the one Clearchus suspected, ironically.
The worst of the lot, according to Xenophon, from Thessaly, utterly driven by greed for wealth and power purely for his own gain. Believed lying, cheating, false oaths were the smartest way to succeed. Saw honesty and truthfulness as weakness or silliness.
A real piece of work.
Totally. Xenophon says he had no natural affection, exploited friends, mocked piety, and prided himself on his ability to deceive. He was young, apparently good-looking, and intimate with Arius, which makes his betrayal even more pointed.
And his death was different, wasn't it? Not a quick beheading.
No. Xenophon makes a point of this. While the others were executed relatively quickly, Menon was apparently kept alive and tortured for a full year before finally dying the death of a felon. A uniquely disgraceful end, reflecting in Xenophon's view the utter disgrace of his character.
And finally, Aegeus and Socrates, briefly mentioned.
Yes, Aegeus the Arcadian, Socrates the Achaean, both about 35. Xenophon just says they were brave in war, never faltered in friendship, and were decapitated alongside the others. Their simple, positive description almost serves as a counterpoint to Menon's elaborate villainy. It highlights the virtues Xenophon admired.
So this deep dive really throws into sharp focus these critical moments. Trust versus betrayal, leadership versus folly, from that initial shock after Cunaxa through Clearchus's bold, sometimes flawed strategies, right up to the horrifying treachery that left them leaderless once again.
It's a stark reminder, isn't it? How a capable force can be brought low, not necessarily by battlefield defeat, but by internal divisions, misplaced trust, and really sophisticated deception.
Absolutely. And it really leaves us, and you listening, with a powerful question to mull over. In our own complex world, full of shifting information and persuasive narratives, how do we actually discern genuine intent from calculated manipulation?
Yeah, and what are the real costs, personal, organizational, maybe even societal, when we fail to see through deception, especially when it comes from sources we feel we have to trust or want to trust?
Something definitely worth thinking about long after this deep dive ends.